Following our summer break, we begin our first programme back with the First Minister John Swinney. The political veteran took on Scotland's top job 15 months ago amid turbulent times for the SNP. After steadying the ship, he's hoping his government can turn the tide and deliver on policy areas beset by big problems. He's also once again banging the drum for Scottish independence. The First Minister spoke to us in his North Perthshire constituency. First Minister, less than a year to go before the election. What have you got to enthuse voters going back to Parliament next month?
What I'll be saying to voters is that the SNP government is delivering on the issues that matter to the people of this country and addressing the cost of living challenges with the introduction of the abolition of peak rail fares, for example, that will start on the 1st of September. The investments that we're making to tackle child poverty, to support families with the costs that they're wrestling with. And then, of course, there's the big picture about the fact that so much about Scotland's future will depend on whether we have the powers and the responsibilities to change Scotland's future and to make the most of our resources. And that's the exciting prospect of independence.
According to the polls, the biggest issue for voters is the NHS. Can you deliver over the course of the next 9 months or so on the NHS to make them feel that they're getting the NHS they want?
Well, we're seeing improvements in the National Health Service and in its performance. We're seeing more people being treated, we're seeing more operations being undertaken, we've seen an expansion of the number of procedures able to be undertaken as a consequence of investments that the Scottish Government is making. So I'm confident that people will see the effect of that investment.
You're not moving the dial on accident and emergency, for example, 67% being treated in the 4-hour target on a target of 95%.
Well, there's a million people getting treated in accident and emergency in Scotland in a year within a 4-hour timescale. And yes, there are some people who are waiting a bit longer than that, but a million people are being treated in accident and emergency within 4 hours.
That means
and
a third who aren't.
I accept that, but we're making the steps to ensure that people are treated as quickly as possible. Obviously, people are presenting with more complex needs. The more older people that turn up at hospital for accident and emergency care invariably have more complex needs. That takes longer to address those issues. But some of the measures that we're taking, for example, about the introduction of frailty units are designed to reduce those waiting times for elderly members of the public so they can be treated quickly and efficiently and effectively and have their needs met.
But 67% against a target of 95% isn't good enough, is it?
We've got work to do to improve targets and performance in the National Health Service, but that's why the government is investing a record sum of money in the National Health Service. It's why we're taking steps to introduce measures such as frailty units. It's why we're expanding Hospital at Home, which will become the largest hospital in Scotland as a consequence of our investment, to make sure that the needs of the public are met.
What about issues like jobs? Can you do something in terms of delivering on Project Willow after the closure of the Grangemouth oil refinery before the election? Because it seems to be taking a while to actually get any delivery there.
Well, the first thing I think to say is that Scotland's employment record is very strong. So unemployment in Scotland today is much lower than it is in the rest of the United Kingdom. So that's a tribute to the performance of the Scottish economy and the resilience of the Scottish economy. Now, on Project Willow, there's a whole range of different projects that have been taken forward by Scottish enterprise, engaging with private organisations to secure the investment. And of course, it's been backed up by £25 million of direct investment by the Scottish Government to support these ventures coming forward.
And potential £300 million from the UK Government, but will we see any of those jobs created before the election?
Well, that will be part of the work that is undertaken by Scottish enterprise working with private companies. I want to see those jobs created as early as possible as a consequence of the damage that's been done to Grangemouth, which the Labour Party told us would not close. They would do everything to protect Grangemouth, and they haven't lifted a finger to stop the refinery closure in Grangemouth. So we'll do everything we can, working with Scottish enterprise and various private companies with the investment the Scottish Government is putting in, to make sure we make as much impact on creating employment in Grangemouth.
Do you think we'll see the Glen Sannox and the Glen Rosa both in service before the election?
Yes.
Both of them?
Yes.
Absolutely. What about the talks that you had with President Trump over whisky tariffs? Can we see any movement of that over the next few months, do you think?
Obviously, I'm hopeful that the opportunity that I took to raise the whisky industry and the whisky tariffs issue with President Trump will bring about a change to the trade deal. The trade deal is currently costing the Scotch whisky industry £4 million a week. And I want to make sure...
President Trump seemed surprised that it was even an issue when I brought it up when he was in Scotland.
Well, I think that tells us all about the failure of the UK government to raise the issue in the trade talks, doesn't it?
The independence might not be one of the top priorities for voters. It dropped out of the top 10 in the last Ipsos poll, but it's a top priority for you, obviously. Your plan seems to have failed to unite your own party, let alone the independence movement.
I think it's important that we are in a position to see Scotland's democratic right to decide our future honoured by the choices of the people of Scotland. And I want to make sure Scotland can not only have that choice about our future, but also that we can deliver an independent Scotland as a consequence. That's why the plan that I'm setting out, which relies upon the precedent of 2011, when the SNP won a majority in the Scottish Parliament, and we had a referendum that enabled us to choose our future. Now that, to me, is the route by which we will be able to secure a choice about Scotland's future, and people in Scotland have got to make it a priority at this forthcoming election.
Is the alternative proposal of taking all the pro-Indy votes from all the parties on the list worth even considering? Is it something that you should at least be considering debating at your conference?
Well, I don't agree with it, and I don't think it will work.
But should you be open to debate on it?
That's for my party's conference committee to consider.
But you can have an opinion on it.
Well, it'll be up to the conference committee to decide.
Would you be willing to debate that with them at conference?
Of course I would be. I'm a Democrat. I lead a democratic political party, and I've debated many important choices with my party over time. But I don't think it'll work, because we had that in 2016 and 2021, and it didn't succeed.
Well, you didn't have exactly what they were proposing.
Well, but it didn't break the logjam. And the issue that I come back to is the importance of having a route that results in Scotland becoming independent. And this is a crucial point. If Scotland is to become independent, there has to be domestic and international legitimacy for an independent Scotland. Now, we had that in 2014 because all the rules were agreed. Both sides would accept the outcome of a referendum. That would not be the case with the proposal being advanced, and that's why I don't think it would work.
So you want an SNP majority of seats like you had in 2011, which you think would guarantee it. But in her book, Nicola Sturgeon says of that 2011 majority for the SNP, it is quite likely that will never happen again. She says your plan's not going to happen.
It depends what the people of Scotland think about it, and that's the most important.
She doesn't think it's going to happen again.
The most important thing is the people of Scotland have it within their hands and their choice to ensure that that's the outcome that can be achieved, and that's what I'm going to go into the election.
She doesn't think it's likely.
Well, I'm going to rely upon the people of Scotland to determine.
Your support's at 34%. You're nowhere near it. You're nowhere near where you were in 2011.
Well, we're in a far stronger position than we were in advance of the 2011 election today than we were then. So we've got stronger foundations, and we've got a big picture to put to the people of Scotland, which is that our prospects as a country, the life chances of people in this country can be transformed by independence. We can have an energy system that works in the interests of the people of Scotland with independence. And that's the message that people in Scotland have got to hear to be confident and optimistic about the future and to make independence a priority.
Have you read Nicola Sturgeon's book?
I've not read it yet, no.
Have you got a copy of it?
I have got a copy, yes, but I've not read it yet. No.
Have you read the extracts in the newspapers, for example?
Of course I have.
And what did you think?
Well, it's a reflection on a fascinating time in Scottish political history.
She seems, in the book, quite critical of your 2024 election campaign. She says, if the SNP had fought the election more squarely on independence, our core vote would have been more energised and we might have polled more strongly. That's a criticism of your campaign, isn't it?
Well, just to remind you of Scottish political history, I know you need to be reminded of it every so often, Colin, but I'd kind of come in the door by about 2 weeks when the election was called, and the crucial point for me was that I had to persuade the people of Scotland that the SNP were on their wavelength, that we were addressing their core priorities. That's what my biggest task was when I became SNP leader, because the people of Scotland had stopped listening to the SNP at that time. They're listening to us again. We're back in the lead in the polls. We've got much better prospects, and I intend to deliver on our expectations.
Didn't listen to you in Hamilton, though, did they?
Well, we fought the Hamilton by-election clearly, but what, as I explained at the time, the opinion polls at the time played out in the Hamilton by-election, And that's not good enough for us. We've got to strengthen our position, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
By strengthening your independence message, even although it's not a top priority for people?
Independence is relevant to the everyday concerns of people in Scotland because it affects energy prices.
So this is going to be your attempt to connect with the voters on independence over the next few months?
Well, independence has got to be relevant to the day-to-day lives of people in Scotland. And if you take, for example, child poverty, the driving force and mission of my government, child poverty is falling in Scotland because of the actions of my government. The actions of the UK government are going to force child poverty up. That's an argument for independence, because what Scotland wants to do of driving down child poverty rates is being thwarted by the actions of our UK Labour government.
Now, in a book, Nicola Sturgeon says that when you were SNP leader first time around in 2000, Alex Salmond, and I quote, acted in ways, deliberate or otherwise, that seemed to undermine you. Do you remember that?
Well, look, these are events a long time ago, and I'm looking forward.
But do you remember him undermining you?
I'm just looking to the future, Colin. That's what I'm doing.
Well, looking to the future, Alex Salmond's family is talking of suing the Scottish Government. For Women Scotland is already taking court action against the Scottish Government. This is the backdrop to which you go into the new parliamentary term.
Well, these are two live cases, which Well,
one of them's live, one of them's potentially live.
Well,
it's not yet.
Well, both of them have got live proceedings involved in them. So you've been around the block long enough, Colin, to know that when there's live proceedings involved, I can't comment on them. So we we have to leave it there.
But you're not bothered about them. They're not something that hangs over you because it could be difficult.
Not in the slightest. These things take their course, and we'll let them take their course.
It's not damaging for you going into an election year.
These things just take their course. They're part of the fabric of government life in Scotland, and I've got to deal with them all.
Got a prediction for the election?
We'll win, and we'll win well.
John Swinney, thanks for joining us in Scotland tonight.